There are 5 things you must never reveal, and the people you reveal them to cannot be trusted. These aren't complicated secrets. They're not classified information. They're not things locked behind passwords or buried in vaults. They're the opposite. They're ordinary. They're personal. They sound like the kind of things you share with someone close, someone safe, someone who asked because they genuinely wanted to know. And that's exactly what makes them devastating. Because the most dangerous things you can give away don't feel dangerous when you give them. They feel like connection. They feel like openness. They feel like trust. And by the time you understand what just happened, what you gave away is already being used against you. People don't lose power in confrontations. They lose it in conversations, in casual moments, in quiet rooms, in situations that felt completely safe. The person who walks away diminished isn't the one who got attacked. They're the one who got comfortable, who got asked the right question by the right person at the right time and answered fully and openly because nothing about the moment felt like a threat. I'm going to show you all 5 things, and the 5th one is the foundation, the one that makes the other 4 possible. If you can learn to protect that one thing, the other 4 become almost effortless to guard. But you need to understand the first 4 to see why the 5th one is the one everything else is built on. Before we go further, I want to be clear. This is not about becoming cold. This is not about building walls around yourself and letting no one in. This is about discernment. Knowing the difference between sharing that builds trust and sharing that hands someone a key to a room you didn't mean to unlock. That's not paranoia, that's wisdom. Here's what most people never figure out. You were taught from the time you were small that openness is a virtue, that sharing yourself is how you connect, that the person who opens up is brave and the person who holds back is damaged or afraid or hiding something. That lesson made you generous. It didn't make you protected. Protection starts the moment you realize that not everything you know about yourself is meant for every person who asks. That some things, once spoken, change the entire dynamic of a relationship in ways you cannot reverse. That the moment between someone asking and you answering is a moment of choice. Right now, you're not making that choice consciously. You're just answering. By the end of this, you will never just answer again. Let's get into it. The first thing you must never reveal, and this one happens constantly, at work, with friends, in new relationships, in situations where you're trying to make a good impression. You'll recognize it the moment I say it. Your financial situation, not the broad strokes, not I'm doing okay or times are tough. The specifics, what you earn, what you owe, what you have saved, what you're struggling with, what you're building toward. Someone asks casually, over dinner, in the middle of a conversation about something else, "What are you making these days? Did you manage to save anything this year? How are things going financially?" And it sounds like concern. It sounds like the kind of thing a friend asks because they care about you. So you tell them, because what's the harm? Because it feels like honesty. Because keeping it private feels like you're ashamed of something. But watch what happens after you answer. If you're doing well, you've just created distance. You've just become someone they measure themselves against, or someone they feel entitled to borrow from, or someone whose generosity has a known ceiling that they will now test. If you're struggling, you've handed someone a piece of your vulnerability that follows you in every future interaction. Every favor they do, every decision they influence, every moment they need something from you, they know exactly how much pressure you're under. Financial information is not just information. It changes how people treat you. It changes what they ask of you. It changes what they believe they can take. And once it's out, once someone knows the number, you can never make them unlearn it. Think about the people in your life who know exactly what you earn. Who knew and then started treating you differently? Who knew and then suddenly had needs that only you could meet? Who knew and then used that knowledge in ways so subtle you couldn't even call it what it was? The question sounds like interest. The answer becomes leverage. Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand. What people see about you shapes everything. And when someone sees your financial reality with precision, they stop seeing you. They start seeing a number, and they interact with that number, not with you. So when someone asks about your finances, you smile. You say things are fine. You say you're managing. You give warmth without data. Because the people who need the number to care about you aren't actually caring about you. And the people who genuinely care about you don't need the number. That's the first thing you must never reveal, your financial reality. The second thing you must never reveal. And this one is harder to protect because it doesn't come up in obvious contexts. It comes up in moments of closeness, in moments of comfort, in conversations that feel like the safest ones you've ever had. Your deepest fears. Someone sits with you, genuinely present, genuinely warm, and somewhere in the flow of a real conversation they ask, "What are you most afraid of?" Or it surfaces more naturally. You're talking about the future, and it comes out that you're terrified of being alone, or being irrelevant, or losing what you've built, or never being truly known. And the person across from you receives it gently. They don't flinch, they nod, they maybe share something back. And it feels like intimacy. It feels like the thing relationships are supposed to produce. That rare moment where someone actually sees you. But fear is a map, and when you hand someone your map, you've shown them every soft spot, every exposed place, every location where pressure produces collapse. And most people, when they have that map, eventually use it. Not always consciously, not always cruelly, but it gets used. The person who knows you're afraid of being abandoned will threaten to leave in arguments, even without saying the words. The person who knows you're afraid of being seen as a failure will make comments about your decisions that land precisely on that nerve. The person who knows what you cannot afford emotionally will walk right up to that edge whenever they need to move you. Think about someone who knew your real fears, not a fear you admitted to, a real one. Did they use it? Maybe directly, maybe indirectly, maybe they never meant to, but they knew where the door was, and at some point they knocked. The greatest manipulations are the ones disguised as intimacy. When someone creates a space that feels safe enough for you to hand over your vulnerabilities, you can't be angry about what gets done with them later. You gave them willingly. The space felt sacred. You walked in yourself. Real trust earns fear slowly. It doesn't request it. The person who asks directly, early, "What are you most afraid of?" is not building trust. They're collecting. Real intimacy doesn't ask you to surrender your soft places all at once. It creates conditions where they surface gradually, over time, in moments that weren't orchestrated. So when someone asks what you fear most, you give them something real, but not something weaponizable. You talk about uncertainty, about the future, about things everyone fears. You don't hand them the precise map of where you break. You let that emerge only where it has been earned over years through evidence. That's the second thing you must never reveal, the exact shape of your fear. The third thing you must never reveal, and this one is the most socially dangerous of all five because the world rewards you for revealing it. People respond to it warmly, they admire it, they celebrate it, they tell you it's brave, and that reward makes you want to give more of it. Your goals before you've built them. Someone asks what you're working toward, what your plan is, what you're building, and because ambition is celebrated, because talking about your vision feels energizing, because every conversation about your dream makes it feel more real, you tell them everything, the idea, the timeline, the steps, the outcome you're reaching for. You map it out with real enthusiasm because it feels like the goal is becoming more solid every time you speak it. But something happens when you speak a goal before it exists. The speaking of it produces a feeling of progress, a psychological reward that your brain registers as partial completion. You get some of the satisfaction of the achievement without doing any of the work, and that satisfaction quietly bleeds the urgency out of you. Research has shown this. The mind treats the announcement as movement. The announcement is not movement. It's the opposite. It holds you still while making you feel like you're going somewhere. And then there's the human element. Not everyone who hears your goal wants it to succeed. Some of them don't know they don't want it to. But the person who is quietly dissatisfied with their own progress does not receive news of your ambition the way you think they do. They smile, they say all the right things, and then something in them starts working against you in ways too subtle to prove. Small comments, gentle doubts, questions that seem logical but land like weights. Are you sure that's realistic? Have you thought about what happens if it doesn't work? I just want you to be prepared. And because these come from people who responded warmly to your goal, you can't defend against them. They were just being honest. They were just being realistic. But realism delivered early enough, precisely enough, to someone who hasn't built enough momentum yet is indistinguishable from sabotage. A prince must always take counsel, but only when he wishes, not when others wish. Your goals are yours to protect until they're strong enough to withstand scrutiny. You share a goal with someone else when you have already built enough of it that their opinion cannot stop you. Not before. Never before. So when someone asks what you're working toward, you smile and you say, "Some things I'm still developing." You say, "I'll tell you more when there's more to tell." You protect the fragile thing until it is no longer fragile. And then it doesn't matter who knows. That's the third thing you must never reveal. Your goals before they can survive contact with doubt. The fourth thing you must never reveal. And this one should make you deeply uncomfortable when you realize how often you've already done it without knowing the cost. The problems in your closest relationships. Something isn't right with your partner, or your closest friend, or a family member who matters to you. There's tension, there's a wound, there's a pattern that keeps repeating, and you're carrying it, and carrying it gets heavy, and someone in your life, someone you trust, creates a space where you can put the weight down for a moment. So you tell them, not to be disloyal, not to undermine anyone, just to be honest, just to process, just to have someone understand what you're going through. But here's what you don't see in that moment. That person just received a detailed portrait of someone who cannot defend themselves. Someone who isn't in the room. Someone whose side of the story will never arrive with the same emotional weight as yours, because yours comes with tears, with exhaustion, with real feeling, and theirs comes secondhand, filtered, after the damage is already done. And that portrait does not stay neutral in the mind of the person you told it to. It becomes their reality. And once it becomes their reality, it shapes everything. They look at your partner differently. They interact with your family member from behind a wall of information that person didn't consent to share. They form an opinion they will not let go of, even when things between you improve, even when you move past it, even when you've forgiven everything. Think about the relationships in your life that other people damaged, not intentionally, but you told someone something during a hard moment, and that person never let it go. And now there's a tension that has no clear origin. A coldness that can't be explained. A wedge between people you love that came from a conversation you had when you were just trying to carry less weight. You carry the weight, you process the hard thing, and then you let it go. But the person you told doesn't let it go. They can't. They didn't live through the repair. They only received the wound. So when you're struggling in a relationship, you find a way to hold it privately. You find a neutral outlet. A journal, a therapist, someone with no connection to the people involved. You process without depositing ammunition in someone else's hands. Because the people who love you most will never forgive the people you told them to be angry at, even after you already have. That's the fourth thing you must never reveal. The private fractures in your most important relationships. People in that count. Your own words doing the damage. Your own trust building the weapon. Now we come to the fifth, and this is the one, the root, the thing that makes all the other four possible. When you lose this one, every conversation becomes a risk. Every question becomes an opening. Every person who gets close enough to ask becomes someone with leverage you didn't mean to hand over. When you protect this one, the other four almost protect themselves. Because the thing that makes all of them vulnerable is the same thing. The thing underneath all of them, the single mechanism that turns your words into weapons every single time. The fifth thing you must never reveal: your need for approval. Not approval in the abstract, your specific, personal, wired-in need to be seen as good, as capable, as worthy, as someone people like, respect, believe in, choose. The reason you answer the question about money is because you want to seem like you're doing well, or you want to seem humble and real, or you want to connect by being open. The reason you hand over your fears is because you want someone to see you fully and still stay. The reason you announce goals before they exist is because you want someone to believe in you before you've proven anything. The reason you reveal private wounds in your relationships is because you want to be understood and validated and not alone with it. Every single overshare, every single piece of yourself you give away before it was safe to give, traces back to the same origin point. You wanted someone to think something positive about you. You wanted to land in their mind a certain way. And in that wanting, you became readable. And readable means manageable. And manageable means that whoever can see your need can satisfy it or withhold it and move you in either direction they choose. Think about the people in your life who have moved you, who have pushed you toward things you didn't want or pulled you back from things you needed. Think about how they did it. Was it force? Was it argument? Or was it something quieter? A form of recognition withheld. A warmth turned cold. A moment of approval given at exactly the right time to point you in a direction that served them. They could do that because they knew what you needed. And they knew what you needed because at some point you showed them. Not with words, with behavior. With the way you lit up when they praised you. With the way you shifted when they pulled away. With the way you answered the question about money because you wanted to seem like someone who had it together. With the way you handed over your fear because you wanted to feel truly known. The need for approval is the master key. It unlocks all five. And it's not shameful that you have it. Everyone has it. It is wired into being human. But the person who is aware of it, who can sit with the discomfort of not being immediately seen as good or capable or worthy, who can let a question go unanswered and tolerate the temporary uncertainty of what someone thinks, that person cannot be moved without their consent. You cannot manipulate someone who does not need you to like them. So the practice is not to kill the need. The practice is to notice it, to feel it activate when someone asks a question, to recognize that warm pull toward answering fully, oversharing, performing, revealing, and to sit with it for one breath before you decide what you actually want to give. In that breath, you are not obedient. You are not performing, you are choosing. That choice made once becomes a habit. That habit, held long enough, becomes character. And character built on the ability to withstand the discomfort of not being immediately approved of is the most unassailable kind of power there is. You don't need them to like what they know about you. You need to decide what they know. Protect the fifth thing, and the other four take care of themselves. Now I want you to do something, not tomorrow, right now before you close this and move on. Think of one person in your life, just one. Someone who knows more about you than they probably should. Someone who has the number, or the fear, or the goal you announced too early, or the private wound you handed them during a weak moment. Someone who, if you're being fully honest with yourself, has used something you gave them in a way you didn't expect. You don't have to name them out loud, but I want you to sit with that for a second. Because that feeling you just had, that slight discomfort, that recognition, that's not coincidence. That's the cost of something you revealed before it was safe to reveal it. And now you see it. The question is, which one was it for you? Was it your finances? Was it your fears? Was it a goal you talked about so much you never actually built it? Was it a relationship you exposed to someone who never let it go? Or was it the fifth one? The deepest one? The need to be seen a certain way that made you hand everything else over without realizing you were doing it? Tell me in the comments, which one hit closest to home? Because I promise you, you are not the only one. And sometimes the most powerful thing is just admitting which door you left open, so you never leave it open again.